Hello. I wish this was a happy hi or greeting or formal meeting of me, but I am Blinker Crip, as my gamer tag goes, and this is my channel, Blinker Sims, and I have hosted for the past 2 years now my version of Sims Next Top Model. And if you have looked at my community tab, you will unfortunately know the news that I am going to have to cancel this series at least, and especially this season. My computer had the black screen of death, and tragically, to fix it, upgrade it, and slash repair it, all my memory files had to be wiped. So I lost over 2 years of sim saves, custom content, and while I was getting some of it back, I don't nearly have the Sims, especially from this cast alone, to really continue Sims Next Top Model the way it's going currently. If you're wondering, I have Todd and Cameron from this season, and that's it. As for some reason, the only households I ever posted were like the top 7 of season 4. So I have Jose, Todd, Cameron, Shane, Joshua, Don, and maybe Zach. I think I have Zach. I have one of the others. So I have them. I have the male winners. So I have Jeffrey, John's old face. I have John, and then I have a few winners that you never met, and I have some other Sims, and I have Ivy. And that essentially is, I think, equivalent like 10% of the entire cast in the different seasons I've done over these years, so it just isn't really an option, and it breaks my heart in so many ways that I had to stop this because my original plan was to do around 10 seasons and then maybe like 2 All-Stars, including this one. So we're cutting it short and it sucks. So, as my goodbye to this season, which would have been amazing, I want to talk about it and the plans I had because I did plan the season out pretty well. I would say this was actually one of the seasons I was most excited for because I had plans of the photo shoots, the challenges, and how the elimination order was going to go pretty much confirmed at this point. So first, I'm just gonna say a little backstory on me and this series as a whole. We're gonna go through All Stars 2 and what we unfortunately lost and all the characters and who's who. And then we're gonna talk about what's gonna happen a little bit left with this channel. And that will be it for this video. So first, let's talk about this amazing cast. Wrong. First, let's talk about Sims Next Top Model. During COVID, I fell in love with America's Next Top Model. I watched it, I streamed it. There was a social media influencer who did a lot of interviews with the past contestants, and they talked about their time on the show, and it really endeared me to the show, and I liked photography, and I really liked taking photos and all that. So I was like, The Sims is the perfect outlet. There are a few channels who do Sims Next Top Model, and I personally like how they do them. They're much more better than mine ever was, but I was like, oh, if they can do it, I could totally do it. So I originally did Sims Next Top Model. I did seasons 1 through 5 basically with my friend group. I would post the photos in the Discord. I would get their feedback, but overall, I would still make the final decision. And then during the depths, the darkest hours of COVID, I was like, I could stream this. Everyone's streaming now. It's perfect time. So I did. And season 6 was my first season that I streamed and that actually had like a fan. So that is why my original goal was to get up to season 6. So I can thankfully say I did 6 seasons and 1 All-Star. But with that being said, I eventually decided I didn't like streaming as an outlet. I've done a little bit of it on my other YouTube, but I'm not really, it's not my favorite thing to do. So I decided to make this a YouTube video. I spent $80 on like an editing software. It was, I think, literally like my birthday money. And I was like, let's do this. And that's why we got season 1, and the rest is kind of history. I've learned a lot, and I do plan on going over the past seasons, but I'll get into that later. But let's talk about this cast. When I pick an All-Stars cast, the first one I think I kind of fumbled with because I got very inspired by like Drag Race to do All-Stars, and I think America's Next Top Model kind of flopped their All-Stars opportunity. And so this, I was like, the first season's gonna be whatever. I'm gonna try out one format because I saw someone else do it. Brush Your Cats, I believe, is the YouTube channel. They do an amazing series. Would recommend watching. I know I'm a fan. But I saw theirs, and I guess I kind of copied their format, but I didn't really like it for me because I think I think theirs made a lot more sense because they would do a lot more with the characters. Like their episodes are like hours long, while this one I didn't really like going over like 30, 40 minutes. I found 15 minutes should be like the minimum, and 30 minutes is kind of like your maximum. And so with that, it was kind of too much, but I I did All Stars 1. I had some great people in there, but this one, All Stars 2, I wanted it to be like runner up, runner up, runner up, high placements, high placements. So the way this cast is broken up is you'll notice that these three lovely ladies, Raina, Ella, and Callie, are all essentially second slash third or fourths. Franklin was fourth. Todd and Cameron were second and third, and then Macy was fourth, meaning that Annabella, Isabel, and Zane are the only low placing people of this cast. So Isabel came fifth in season 3, Annabelle quit but came 10th in season 5, and Zane came 6th in season 6. Going over the cast, we have Macy 4th place season 1, Isabella obviously 5th from season 3, Todd and Cameron, who were second and third from season 4, Annabella 10th, obviously from season 5. These three, who were the top 2 to 3, 4 in season 5, and then we have Zane and Franklin, who were 6th and 4th in season 6. This cast was like hard hitter after hard hitter. I think they all have great faces. They're all stunning. I mean, it would have been a great cycle, but this cycle was supposed to kind of be just like really heavy hitters. I think I picked all of them personally based off like did they have more photos I liked than didn't like, and that's pretty much true with all of them. I think the only oddball out is Annabella, but that was for a specific reason that she that I'll get into later, but this was going to be an amazing season, and I'm very disappointed that it didn't come into fruition. But now that we've looked at the cast, let's talk about the theme and the photo shoots that were planned for this season. So this season, I was like, okay, the first All Stars didn't make a lot of sense, but this one, they're looking for someone who can be a timeless All Star, like a timeless beauty. So the whole season was going to be based about like kind of modeling throughout the years, and different interpretations and styles of fashion and all that. So week 1 was kind of like a silly week, but that was going to be a non-elimination week, just that way everyone could meet the All Stars. That way every week after that could be more focused on like who's going home in their storyline for that. So week 1 was recreating their old photos, which I have that photo shoot down, and that's going to be the photos we show for everyone. And that was also going to introduce the new format, which the new format was going to be a lot like Drag Race All Stars, where the top 2 of the week would compete in either a mini photo shoot challenge, a mini runway challenge, or like a mini talking, presenting challenge. And then the winner of that challenge would determine who would be sent home. So very drama filled, very different than what All Stars 1 was. And then week 2 was supposed to be like Adam and Eve, because I feel like it's more of like an artistic statement that like nudity was your like first fashion, like your fashion is your body kind of. And it would kind of go into that old style like Renaissance artsiness of like nudity, because oh my god, I'm blanking right now, but I believe that a lot of the times like there were like in history a lot of statues got censored because of the Renaissance and like all religion stuff. Listen, okay, I was gonna do more research, I promise, but then the week 3 was supposed to be a Victory Care hair ad, which was, if you all don't remember, was the host Betsy Zim's hair care line, but it was going to be like a royal portrait almost. And that photo shoot was going to be beautiful. I had the reference of what I wanted to do with that from something I'd done previously on a stream series. Week 4 was going to be 1930s starlet. It was going to be like they were on a stage in like this vintage style like dress. It was going to be sepia tone. It was going to be really pretty. I was super excited for that one, especially. 1940s pinup. week 5, 1940s pinup. That one was just gonna be like very Betty Boop or olive oil, like very sexy but like not sleazy. It was gonna be a super fun one. I was excited to do that too because I like the aesthetic of it. Nine week 6, 1950s Clue. I'm a major murder mystery person, so I was excited to do that one. I was gonna put like a little acting challenge in that where like the six, I think it's the top 6 of whoever was going to be like in a like little skit and they were going to judge their acting. Week 7 was going to be the comeback series because I like to do a comeback in All Stars. And it was going to be 1960s Jet Setters. I had a plan. I downloaded a custom content plane. I was going to make them like, if you watched America's Next Top Model Cycle 10, it was going to be very that, except just 2 of them standing outside. And it was going to be like the best duo would bring someone back, and then the worst duo would probably be eliminated. 1970s was going to be disco. I had a great reference for this. I was working on the set. Then week 9 was going to be 1980s fitness videos, and then it was also going to be like a 1980s like style bedroom because Sims does really well with that kind of like bold color stuff, bold color outfits, and I had stuff planned. I downloaded stuff for that one too. And then week 10 was going to be 3 challenges. It was going to be a 90s fashion ad. Think very like Friends, like the Rachel Green, the like Joey Tribbiani. Shows you my references. It was going to be an Iron Magazine cover. It's going to be very modern, very white, slick, like blue. And then they were going to do like timeless photos, which was going to be like very. I had the original plan to use the hill that had been previously used in season 6 and 2 and 5 off the top of my head, and I was just gonna put them in like a very simple outfit. It was supposed to be like something timeless. And I had this all set out. I had challenges rounding like I was going to do for like week 3 the royal photo shoots. I had this challenge in mind where they were like trying to imitate a portrait previously. The Clue, obviously an acting challenge, 1940s, like a pinup challenge where they're on like cars. Like I had so much planned. And it's kind of a shame that I'm not able to do that. I know for a fact this season, I know this season, unfortunately, I thought I'd saved the cast. I think I just downloaded them onto my computer and they're gone now. But that was what was planned. And it was going to be great. Like, I was so ready for this. But unfortunately, it did not work out. So let's look at the elimination order, and I'm going to do a quick synopsis of my plans for each character that was in this season. So, okay, we have Reina. This photo is supposed to be recreating her top 4, like when Betsy was like, you have to be sexy. And she was in that red dress in like the cobblestone streets, and she was just kind of standing there. That was supposed to be her worst photo, and for this photo shoot especially, I wanted the theming to be very red and black this season, which is why in the group shot originally, if we just scroll back, you'll see they're all wearing red and black. And then I was going to switch it to where the ladies are wearing red and the men are wearing black when they got their makeovers. Reina, unfortunately, would not make it super far this season. She would be in the top 2 for this photo because this photo is stunning. And then the next week for the nude Adam and Eve photo shoot, she would stumble, and Callie would have an ally Callie was supposed to originally be allied with Todd, because Callie, I'll get into that, but then Todd would send Reina home, just because Callie didn't like Reina. And her storyline was kind of supposed to be like a judge's favorite that could have gone far, but just didn't. She would later come back she'd be a very important part later on in the Jet Setters comeback challenge, because I was originally going to have it planned that whoever was first eliminated would get to pick their partner first to come back, and her whole storyline was going to be like, I want Callie to go home, so I'm going to pick her, and I'm going to try and outshine her. And unfortunately, that storyline never went to fruition. She was supposed to be very chill, very like, I'm better, because she wasn't really modeling anymore. If you don't remember, she was like a production assistant. She liked the creative aspect a lot more than anything else. And yeah, that was supposed to be Reina first out at the Adam and Eve photo shoot, which is fine, but yeah, missed opportunity. Next up is Franklin, who is 4th place in season 6. And Franklin wouldn't really have much storyline. He was kind of the Camille of this season, where like everyone was like, "Oh, he's gonna cause drama, he's gonna get into a fight with it." And unfortunately for him, with the way the story works, with like you kind of need allies to go farther, it just wouldn't work out for him because I know Zane was supposed to be associated with Macy and Annabella, and then he was gonna rub Todd and Callie the wrong way, basically making him out of the two alliances that were happening, and making him an easy elimination for that. And he would just kind of seem like he would just be all talk and no game this season. He was gonna be in the bottom two for the Adam and Eve shoot, and then he would be in the bottom two again for the Victory hair care shoot. I don't think I even had a makeover planned for him. I didn't need one planned for Reina, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, Franklin would have been like a very low energy entity, and during the comeback, I didn't have any ideas planned for him either. So he really was kind of like a villainous placeholder this season. Sorry if there are Franklin fans out there, but there was no real plan for him except to kind of be like this like presence that everyone's like, whoa, he's coming back. But yeah, that's Franklin. Next up is Isabel. Isabel was our season 3 representative. I originally was going to have Mara, but I realized that Mara, Macy, and Callie all looked a little too similar for me. Like they all would have been essentially blondes with like green or blue eyes, and I didn't really want it. I didn't really want that representation because I didn't want like a part two of where in the other original All Stars the final three were all brown haired people, were all brunettes, and I just didn't want that again. So I switched her out for Isabel, and Isabel's pretty. She's stunning. I didn't have much planned for her. I was gonna have her be very like carefree attitude wise, like, oh, I know I'm pretty, I know I'm better, I can model, I have modeled, and so she was gonna be like a very non-entity, and it would just kind of come down to the fact that there was the alliance that won the challenge to get best photo and send someone home. The other person, the bottom, would be an ally of them, so she would just have to go home by default. So with these first three, you kind of get like people who were very big characters that are just leaving early or missed opportunities because they're seen as threats. And it's much more of a social game this season, which I was excited to try and do because my writing side of this is a little weak, which is like my main critique of myself. And I see some of you have where it's like, this is boring. And I get it, I do. I just don't know how to write sometimes, so I always try my best. But I understand where like some people are like, we want the fights. But she wouldn't have engaged in fights anyway. She might have pissed people off, but I don't think she would have ever engaged in a fight. But yeah, that was Isabel. Isabel would be very, I think, whichever way the wind blows is the side she was on. For the comeback, I think she would have done well. She would have been like the third option to come back because there's the top two people who could come back. She would have been third. She would have done well. And I don't think she would have vibed with Todd and Cameron, so I think she would have tried to help the others. Moving on, moving on, we have Cameron. Cameron was supposed to be like a big threat. You know, he did, I think, the best his original season out of all of them. He takes good photos, and I would have seen him being in the top at least one of the weeks prior. But he is a big threat, and he would kind of have a similar storyline to Chain, who was very like so close but no cigar this season, so he would have probably had a few third places. And then like I think this photo shoot would not have been, it wouldn't have been Starlet's, it would have been the sexy one, the 1940s. And I think he's more of like an artsy high fashion model, so I don't think he would have done sexy that well, the pinup kind of sexy. So I think for him that would have been his downfall. And for the other alliance of Macy, Annabella, and Zane, who probably would have been fighting with the other four, which would have been Callie, Cameron, Todd, and Ella. I think I would have had Annabella been the top this week. She would have seen it as like the perfect opportunity. She would have won and would have sent him home. And he would be one of the biggest threats to come back in the following weeks. So yeah, this is gonna get a little tricky, but we're gonna go to Mace. Oh, we're going to Macy first, because Macy would be eliminated the next week, which would be... She would be eliminated during the Clue week, the 1950s week, Clue. She would just, Macy's a beautiful sim. She would be redeeming herself a lot. She'd be a very strong powerhouse this season. But I think the moment she had a weakness, especially since Callie and her share very similar looks, Callie would have made sure to have Macy out. And that's pretty much the justification of her first elimination because they're both blondes with blue eyes. Because I was going to keep both of them blonde too, but I was going to give Macy like a shorter cut, a shorter hair, like medium length. But then we go back to Ella. Ella is a big part of the looming foursome of Cameron, Todd, Callie, and her. During the comeback week, she would have been the casualty amongst that friend group. She would have probably done the worst out of those who were left and probably would have been sent home by one of the returning top two or whoever won that week, I believe. Because I was confused whether it was going to be Cameron and Macy are competing for a spot to come back, or like let's say Callie and Zane are competing on who to bring back. It would have been one of those two. So either way, she would have been the casualty at that point, and that would have flipped the script on how the villains essentially were dominating the season because it would have been tied again. And Ella would have been kind of the Roxy Andrews of Drag Race, if you've ever seen Drag Race, where she was kind of just getting dragged along through her alliance. And she's pretty, she's gorgeous. There are very good photos of her out there, but she just didn't perform that well this season. And this was supposed to be a recreation of her makeup ad. And this was supposed to be a recreation of his luxury train Pokemon photo shoot. And this was supposed to be a recreation of her photo that sent her home in the top 4. Now that we're back to Macy, she would have come back, but then been immediately out again, because I do believe that the way I would have written Callie is that Callie would have seen her as an immense threat, and the second that Macy kind of ever slipped up, Callie would have been like, she's going. And that's just, it's strategic, and it's just how it would have happened. So Macy would have gone home during the disco photo shoot, which I totally see happening. And I wasn't really sure on any of the other placements, but obviously either Todd or Callie would have been in the top, and Zane or Annabelle would have been the top with them, and then the other one would have been, maybe Callie would have been the bottom too as well. Probably. The two blondes, why not? But yeah, so that's where Macy would go home. Then we have Callie, who... Callie is the only one who I switched with Todd. Callie and Todd are the only... Because I was always planning on having one villain make it to the end, but I like Callie and I like Todd, and I think it just depends on if I would have done the season, how I would have written the characters. Whichever one I would have felt fit the story better would have been the one that was either taken through or sent home. So, but for now, this way, I think Callie being the head villain of this season and Todd being like her right-hand man, Callie going home at the top 4, I think it all makes a lot more sense logically because Callie pulled a lot of the strings throughout the season. I think Zane and Annabelle would have been the smart to get rid of her here because Callie was clearly the best. And Callie had a very unique look compared to the other top 3 at this point since Macy was gone. And this would have been the 1980s week. There would have been 2 parts to this. It would have been like an aerobics kind of workout video from the 80s, and that's where Callie would have failed. And then it would have either been Zane or Todd who would fail at the... I think the original plan was for Todd to do well in the dance video, but do bad on the photo, and then Zane and Annabelle would have been almost like, well, would have been decently good in both, making them be the top 2 of that week. And I had planned on having them in the bottom because they were originally supposed to have a romance this season as well, and it would have been interesting to see these 2 powerhouses of villains be in the bottom 2 and how they would defend each other without either slandering or trying to slander the other one. And I was excited to write that. That was going to be a great plot point. I was getting lots of drama there. But yeah, as it officially goes, Callie would have been eliminated at top 4, making her 4th, and then Todd would have made it to top 3, and that really fits how I like to have the top 3, especially for All-Stars, is I think it should be a runner-up, so someone who came in 2nd or 3rd, someone who just missed the mark, so someone who came fourth to sixth, and then essentially someone who came anywhere from seventh to like 10th, or I guess 14th, would be the last one, that like one random element. And that's what we have here with Todd, Zane, and Annabella. So let's talk about Todd. There is no third place in this season as it goes from a top three to a winner, but if someone were to be in third place, it most likely would have been Todd, just because I don't think Todd would have had as much impact on the season without Callie as the other two, and his photos wouldn't have been up to par with the other two. But Todd would kind of be like the supporting villain this season, with him just kind of supporting and sometimes fighting with Callie or to defend Cameron. And he would have been a very strong threat. You never knew what you were going to get from him because he was so up and down with his photos wise. So he'd either be an extreme challenge or an extreme, like, not challenge. And that's what Todd's would have been. He would have done fine, I think, in this finale, but we'll never know. Then we have Zane, and I was excited to reuse Zane this season because I felt like I focused too much with Zane and the romance with Jeffrey on his original season, and it would have been cool to show off Zane because he is one of my favorites that I've sadly lost to this computer purge. He was one of my favorites. He was originally in the season 6 as well, and I would have loved to use him again, but he would have showed a lot more of his art, his creativity, and his social media references, and he would have been very witty. And I mean, based on this photo alone, it's pretty good. This is a recreation of his swimwear photo from top 7 of season 6, and I was very excited to use him, but he would have been a runner-up just because I didn't want him to win like immediately after Jeffrey won, because I thought that would have been too weird, so he was always destined to be second or third. And then that leaves us with the winner, Annabella. Annabella was originally in season 5. She quit because of, I believe the reason I said was her father was having a surgery and she was worried. So she quit, she came back. She would have been very appreciative of being invited back, especially after she left. And her whole narrative was going to be not about wasting the shot again. And she was super excited. She wouldn't do super well, especially in the beginning, but I think at the pinup shoot would be her first victory, and then she would obviously have another victory in 1980s and probably the 1970s disco. So she would have had a few victories, and I think she would have had 1 or 2 bottom placements. And so she would have been very appreciative and very optimistic to learning about all the different styles of fashion and how they appeared to modeling, and that would have really endeared her to Betsy and all the other judges as well. And it wasn't because she was the best, it was because she took what the season was and made it the best. And that was my plan with her. And she was supposed to be very neutral. She was with Macy and Zane, obviously, in their trio, which I like to call the Betsy's Angels, but I can't really do that now, can I? And she would have been a very cute winner. I was very excited to use her again. I had my regrets about making her quit, quote unquote, from season 5, but I was super excited to use her again. I thought her face is stunning. She's like one of those things where I can't say exactly what's stunning about her, but she looks gorgeous. And yeah, so I'm kind of disappointed for her makeover. Oh, I should have gone over the makeovers. We'll do that quickly. I don't know if I would have kept this bob or this mohawk moment that she has in this promo, because she has a faux hawk, but yeah, I don't know. But we'll go over makeovers. I didn't have a makeover for him. He might have kept it. He might have gone black hair. She would have gone longer hair. She would have gone the bangs again. She didn't get a makeover. Either the bob or the mohawk. He would have gone that mullet thing again. I don't know what his would have been, honestly. She would have gone bangs, and she would have gone a short little, something like this almost, but maybe a little longer. But yeah. That was their makeovers, and yeah. So what now? What to expect now with this? What's gonna happen now with this series? I think the next video I'm gonna post is ranking the Iron Magazine covers, because I think that'll be a little fun, and I want to give some context behind Iron Magazine, because I think personally my definition of it has shifted around, but I also find ranking things is pretty fun, honestly. So I'll probably rank that and talk about like the different types of winners a little bit and how they compare in like a lineup and all those fun things. And I would love to hear everyone else's ranking, but when we get to that part, um, I think there are 7 seasons of Sims Next Top Model, 6, and then 1 All Stars. I think I'm gonna make some videos just talking about that, going over what happened, why it happened, my creative choices, and my explanations for why people were eliminated when they were, and just like a little bit more backstory. And then I'm going to do, I think, maybe 3 more videos after that, basically ranking, no, 5. I'm going to do ranking my top 10 least favorite photo shoots, my top 10 favorite photo shoots, my least favorite photos of all time, and then my favorite photos of all time. And that's going to all be different ranking videos, or just basically it's going to be something like this where we're on Google Slides, honestly, and we're going to just be like, I like this for this reason, I like this for that reason. And it's going to be very simple, very just me talking. And again, I would like to apologize. Trust me, I did not want to lose this Sims file save. I was like hoping, I was like, maybe I saved it on a flash drive, maybe I didn't. I don't think I did, honestly. If I ever do find a way to bring most of these Sims back, I might do it, but I wouldn't count on that, honestly. I know right now I have a bunch of Sims custom content being saved, so honestly, you might expect a different type of Sims Next Top Model where I'm talking the whole time and just like kind of like almost live streaming it, but pre-recorded. So you could expect that maybe. And then once all those Sims videos are done, I'm probably gonna rebrand the channel to be more about like me just posting whenever I feel like it. And if that's not something you're into, I completely understand. But I thank you for listening to this and for watching my series if you have. It was a lot of fun to make. I can't wait to delve into it more in the future. But until then, have a great day, and I have been Blinker Crib.